So I recommend this. One of the previous Gdolim, Rav Pinkus, he has a series of books about different parts of Judaism. One of them is about tefillah, about prayer. You read that book, you're going to have a completely different understanding of what prayer is.
What's the name again?
Rav Pinkus. Rav Pinkus, he has, you just type his name, Rav Pinkus, P-I-N-C-U-S, and you look online in his books, you'll see that one of his books talks about tefillah, talks about praying, and that's one thing. That tells you really, and there's many, many other Gdolim that wrote about prayer that will tell you what you're actually saying. Meaning what you're saying is not just what the translation to the language that's your first language. What you're saying is much, much deeper. Like for example, you mentioned Modeh. Modeh, the Pachad Yitzchak, Rav Hutner, says that the Modeh, what most people don't understand is that when you say Modeh to Hashem, in that same paragraph you're saying Modeh and Hodeh. You're saying the same thing twice. Why are you saying it twice? He says because that word is used in two ways. One is to thank Hashem. Modeh to Hashem. I'm thanking Hashem. But also to admit. To admit what? Of all my wrongdoings, of all of my lackings, of all of my flaws, of all of my sins. And this, Rabotai Karim, is why we are all called Yehuda. We're called after Yehuda. We're called Yehudim. Why we're called Yehudim? Because of Yehuda, last week's parasha. Yehuda had a dilemma. What was the dilemma? He was with a woman, Tamar. Now, he didn't know he was with Tamar. He thought he was with somebody else. I told you guys the story a few weeks ago. Now, what ended up happening is that Tamar got pregnant, and he didn't know that he's the one that was the other party, the contributing party. He didn't know that. He says, you got pregnant without a husband, you're bringing embarrassment to our family, death penalty. Now, Tamar was a big tzadikah, and she says in last week's parasha, she says to Yehuda, she asked for one last thing to do before they kill her. And say, what do you want? I want to speak to Yehuda, the king. I want to speak to him privately. Okay, so they bring him to the cell. Yes, what can I do for you? And she shows him his underwear, his staff, and his ring. He says, do you know who these belong to? Now, what is she saying? She should tell him, if I was Tamar, I would say, hey, don't kill me. You should kill yourself. Why? These belong to you. No question about it. Your ring has your stamp on it. The stick, no one else has like this one. Underwear, come on, I'm going to make this one up. This is yours. You're the... No. What does Tamar do? She asks it as if she doesn't know. Do you know who these belong to? In essence, telling Yehuda, I'm not going to disclose that you are the one that got me pregnant, because maybe you don't want people to know that. And I rather get burned in a fire than to embarrass you in public. From there we learn the mitzvah that how a person is forbidden from embarrassing another person in public to such an extent that it's better to jump into a fire than to embarrass another Jew in public. Now, Yehuda had two options here. One option is send it to the fire, continue living his life as if nothing happened. Okay, maybe he'll feel bad for a few days, but that's it. You move on. You out of sight, out of mind, right? Isn't that a saying that Reshaim have? So out of sight, out of mind. But Yehuda says, "Tzadkami meni, you're more righteous than me. You're right. It's me. I did it. I'm gonna admit and embarrass myself in public, and put my own life in risk, because they may end up stoning me because of this. Why? Because that's the emet." He admitted in front of everyone, hey, there's no burning, there's no killing of her. If anything, it's me. Why? I did it. So when he said it, Hashem said, no, tzadkami meni. She's more righteous than me. I was behind the whole thing. Hashem says, I was behind the whole thing. So from that moment, HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided that the Mashiach will come from Yehuda, and that Am Yisrael will be called after him. Why? Because the most critical part of being a Jew is to admit our flaws and also to be thankful. You have to be thankful and you have to admit your flaws. Because being thankful, if you're not thankful, you're never going to be grateful to Hashem. Admitting your flaws, if you don't admit your flaws, you're never going to do tshuva. These are two things that are required in order to be glued to Hashem. So therefore, Yehuda, that's the, in essence, his name was a prophecy to his actions. Not that it led to his actions, but it was a prophecy to his actions, meaning it indicated that that was his nature. So, a person must learn how to thank Hashem and how to admit his mistakes. And everything I just told you is only one page in the Pachad Yitzchak. One page, Pachad Yitzchak, Chanukah. So, imagine if you read a whole book. You read a whole book, you can have a wealth of knowledge, but you have to read the right books. Many people read books that have nice covers, or books that are written by popular authors of today. You should read some of the books that were reading by the Gdolim, some of these well-known Gdolim that were accepted by everyone, and you'll see that the wisdom that's in the Torah is endless. And you'll see that your average prayer, your average holiday, your average Shabbat, your average day is just no longer the same because you have so much more knowledge. Anyone that wants to be not only a good Jew as far as practice, but a happy one too, must accumulate more knowledge every day. If you're not growing in knowledge, you're going backwards because every day you forget a little bit. So if you're not learning more information than what you're forgetting, eventually what ends up happening is that you start forgetting why you're even doing all these mitzvot. And you wake up one day deciding that you don't want to do this anymore. Because you haven't prayed in a long time. You haven't prayed at least like you should in a long time. You haven't learned anything new, anything good, anything worthwhile, anything that shook your heart in a long time. You haven't took anything on to improve yourself, and God only knows how long. Eventually, you start getting so weak to the point where you start asking yourself, why should I even do this at all? It's Saturday afternoon, Shabbat, 12 o'clock, but you feel like going to the game instead of going to the shul. You feel like maybe I should light up a cigarette, even if I don't smoke. Why? Because you have no idea why you're doing anything. And that's what happens. People that don't learn, it's only a matter of time before they become chilonim gmurim. Only a matter of time. There are many people that have kippot that are complete chilonim. But they don't want to necessarily change the whole look right away because of different social issues, kids, wife, so on and so forth. But if you're not learning every single day, it's little by little you're killing your own neshama. So your prayer and all the questions that you have there's many books about it. And if you spend, like I said, Rav Pinkus's book is just one of many examples. You spend a little bit of time learning that book, you're going to see that your prayer will never be the same. There's also How to Pray Like a Jew. How to Pray Like a Jew is also a very famous book.
Was the Amidah written in one shot or over time?
The Amidah was done by the Anshe Knesset HaGedolah. It was our whole Siddur was done by Anshe Knesset HaGedolah. Some say that the Tefillah of of Shachrit, the morning prayer was officially done by Avraham Avinu, Mincha by Yitzchak, and Arvit by Yaakov. But the way we have it today, as far as the structure of all three, and the order, and the Tehillim, and so on, that was a culmination of different people that added different things over time, and then on Anshe Knesset HaGedolah put the whole thing together, and that's what we have today. But there were different parts that were added over time.